Hello, Sequoia here. So today I'll show you two ways to get thin lines using gold leaf. So for this first technique we'll be using Mixed-In Relief by Pebeo. I'll put a link to where I get this below, but you should be able to find it in most craft stores. So this is essentially the glue that you're going to use to stick your gold leaf to your page. So you can apply it straight out of the tube, just following whatever marks you would like. I'm just using an old watercolor painting experiment that I have. So I'm just adding the Mixed-In Relief along any darker edges in the painting. I think that's a nice place to accent. As you can see, it comes out of the tube quite easily. So to get these thin lines, it's actually really simple. Just move your hand relatively smoothly and quickly to get a thin line. And if you want a thicker line, just slow down, squeeze the tube a bit more. And you can also go over a section of the line multiple times to make it a bit wider, but just be careful because this can make it a bit messy sometimes. Don't be afraid to turn the page around to get a better angle as you apply the Mixed-In Relief, because the smoother the lines are now at this stage, the better the gold leaf will look at the end. So if you can just try and be really careful, apply gentle, consistent pressure to the tube of Mixed-In Relief, I think it will pay off with a nicer result. So that's pretty much it. Now just set it aside to dry until this turns tacky and clear. So now you can see that the adhesive has turned from white to clear. You can kind of see it if you tilt the page. It's like shiny. So now the next step is just to add your gold leaf. So I get my gold leaf in sheets like this. You just simply take some of your gold leaf. It's quite fragile, so be careful. And just apply it right over the adhesive, and then gently flatten it down with your finger. So I just try to place this on smoothly so there's not too many wrinkles. You can just pull off any excess bits of gold leaf that aren't stuck down and apply them to other areas. So you can see here I can just pick that up and apply it to another section. So I'm making sure this is all pressed down and stuck to the Mixed-In Relief. So with the Mixed-In Relief, I find that once you put the gold leaf on, you can pretty much brush it off right away, as long as it was dry before you added your gold leaf. To be safe, you could wait maybe half an hour or so, but I'm pretty confident that this is dried on, so I'll just show you the next step, which is brushing off any of this excess gold leaf using a paintbrush. So here I have a big brush, and I'm just going to very roughly brush off any excess gold leaf. This is actually my favorite part of it. It's so satisfying to see the gold lines just reveal themselves. I'm pretty confident that the gold leaf will stay in place now because the Mixed-In Relief is dry, so I'm being relatively brisk with my brushing here. You could nearly be done there, but I like to take it a step further and just refine my lines a little bit by using a smaller brush. So I just have a smaller brush here, and I like to go along each side of each line and brush off any tiny little sections. I like to do this to make sure the lines are as smooth as possible. I think it's a great way to add just that extra finesse to the final piece. And sometimes I even go in with a really tiny brush if I see any areas that that still have a little bit of excess gold leaf. Now, to avoid any waste, I like to gather up the excess gold leaf from my desk and just store that in a jar. So I have a nice jar for my excess gilding flakes, and you could use this in future for like resin or just for different like gold leaf applications. Now the last thing I like to do is use a little bit of masking tape to very gently brush it over the top of the page and remove any small specks of gold leaf dust which have stuck to the paper. You can also use masking tape to remove any stubborn areas that didn't come off with the brush. Perfect. So this is the final piece. As you can see, the Mixed-In Relief gives a sort of 3D effect. So you can see there's a little bit of a shadow cast by the gold lines. And I think it's a super pretty effect. So for the second technique, we'll be using Mona Lisa Adhesive Size, but you could use any adhesive size. That's basically a special glue just for gold leaf. So to apply this, you can use a paintbrush. I'm going to be using this small paintbrush, which is dedicated just for when I want to apply gold leaf like this, because it gets very sticky. So I recommend just sacrificing a brush for this. So it's basically just a similar technique. It's like a white glue, and you apply this, but this one with a brush, so it can be a bit messier and it's harder to get a fine line. I'm just going to be doing the similar technique as the other painting so that you can kind of see how they compare. If you want wider lines, this technique is probably what you should use, because you can color in sections, as I'll demonstrate here. You could paint in a wider area of adhesive size, and then the gold leaf will fill that area in. Or the other reason you might want to use this is because it goes on a lot flatter, so it doesn't have a 3D effect. So now you just set that aside to dry until any white bits of glue turn clear, and this will also be tacky and ready for the gold leaf. So now the adhesive has dried, and as you can see, it is clear and sticky, but it's no longer white. So this is when you're ready to apply the gold leaf. Gently press that down using your finger. I like to sort of follow the lines to make sure that the gold leaf is pressed down the whole way along the entire line. So after you have applied the gold leaf, burnish it on using your finger. Make sure there are no sticky areas that you missed. Then I normally leave mine to dry for at least an hour, sometimes even overnight, depending on how thickly I applied the adhesive size. This is just because I think it takes a bit longer to dry than the Mixed relief, and if it's still wet and you try and brush off the excess gold leaf, you can sometimes make a little bit of a mess with the adhesive. So now that this has been drying for about probably an hour and a half, I'm going to do the same as the previous piece and just brush this off with a big bristle brush. Now just using a smaller brush to tidy up the edges. I find with this adhesive size, the edges are a bit smoother, so I don't need to do as much of this. And once again, I'll just use a bit of masking tape to tidy off any little bits of dust that are clinging to the paper. So here is the final piece. As you can see, the lines are a bit wider, but that does make them catch the light a little better in my opinion. I'll show you the first piece as well so you can kind of see how they compare, and I'll do another comparison at the end. So one last thing I wanted to mention is when you use imitation gold leaf, there is a chance that it could tarnish over time when exposed to the oxygen in the air. So you could use a sealer such as this metal leaf sealer that came in a set with the Mona Lisa Adhesive Size. You simply just paint this on with a paintbrush over your gold leaf, and that helps to seal it. The other option that I really like to do is to seal my final pieces with resin. So you can see here, this is a piece made with gold leaf lines, and it has been sealed with resin, so that protects it from the oxygen and keeps it really shiny looking. And I also think it just is a really lovely finish for any piece of art. So this is the final two pieces. This is the first one we made with the Mixed relief, and this is the second piece that we made with the Mona Lisa Adhesive Size. So as you can see, this one has kind of smoother lines, and these are a little bit more jagged on the edges. This is more 3D and this is more flat. But you can get kind of flatter, wider areas, so if you wanted to fill in a section with gold leaf, I would choose this one. Whereas if you want lots of small details and curving lines, it's easier to achieve with this by squeezing it out of the tube than it is using a little paintbrush, in my opinion. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. I hope that this was helpful. I hope you enjoyed seeing how these compare. Let me know which one you would choose. Yeah, have a wonderful day.